Okay, so our next guest, very, very cool, Anna Canon, which is the perfect name for this guest, and you'll see why. She is the high school clay target league leader. She's a lifelong award-winning educator. Anna was the head of the agricultural department of Orland High School. She was an advisor for Future Farmers of America, and she is now the state director at California State High School Clay Target League. The USA Clay Target League is actually a nonprofit corporation and the nation's leading independent provider of clay target shooting sports to secondary and post-secondary schools. I like this. The league's priorities are safety, fun, and marksmanship in that order. So before we talk to Anna, I want to let everybody know this segment is sponsored by Cargo, Cases and Rugged Gear Outfitters in El Cajon. Go to cargostores.com. They're on 423 Broadway, El Cajon, or go to cargostores.com and order from them directly. I wanted to show you, we had Michael, the owner of Cargo, on last week, and I wanted to show you a couple of examples of the things that he makes and sells. One is this really cool case for a pistol, which on the outside looks like many other cases. It's nicely made, extremely high quality. But then let me show you when you open this up. How about a little music? No? Okay. Thank you. Check that out. So it's actually custom made for this one. Looks like it's for an M&P, and it actually has a breakdown, of all the different parts of an M&P, a Smith & Wesson M&P. And then it's got a custom-made foamy place for your magazine and your gun. And it's extremely, extremely durable. It's extremely, extremely nicely made and high quality and high class, which I think is really, really cool. That's one of the things you can get at Cargo. Here's one of the other cool things that I pulled that I wanted to show you. This looks like a magazine, right? Looks like about a 30-round magazine, right?
10-30, yep.
Yeah, something like that. Okay, but it's not for ammo. This is for batteries. How cool is that? So if you have a neat, which everybody does, man, I have so many batteries like floating around.
Yeah.
So if you need an organizational system, especially for your double A's, there you go. You can put it in your magazine. They sell those. They make those. These are for double A's. You can see on the side there. It shows the caliber of battery, AA. So check those out at Cargo. And the last thing before we go to our interview is what do you keep in your wallet? This is a self-defense spear card. It's only $19.95. If you look super close, you can keep this in your wallet, and it's a survival tool. So if you're out in the wild, you find yourself in a survival situation, you can break this off. These are all made of metal. There's a little saw. There's some fishing hooks there, and then the big one is a spearhead. Mm-hmm. You see that? See, you can break that off.
Spare button and a needle.
Spare button. Oh yeah, that's right.
And Mike was telling me you can pop all those pieces out, use them, and you just simply replace them. And it'll like kind of lock into place and hold itself. So once you pop them out, it's not done with.
There you go.
Yeah.
Kind of cool. That's the kind of stuff you can buy at Cargo. And thank you so much, Michael and Cargo, for sponsoring this segment. So now let's talk to Anna. Anna, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. How are you guys?
Good. Thank you so much for being on the show, and a big thanks for doing so much for Trap and the youth and everything that you do. What an awesome person you are, and what a great career you've had.
Why, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk a little bit
about the youth is what it's all about.
It is, truly. Talk a little bit about it. Now, you're here in California, right?
Northern California, yes.
Northern California. And talk a little bit about the high school trap league that you run and what your goals are and some of the things that you're proud of.
So as a state director for the California State High School Clay Target League, we actually offer 4 disciplines, trap being one of them, as well as sporting clay, skeet, and 5 stand. So the teams in the state can participate in for all of those in 2 seasons. We have a spring season and a fall season. And the increase in participation has been amazing. We started in 2017, and I'm entrenched in it. My team was the first team in the state, Orland High School. Wow. And then we had a second team, which was in your guys' vicinity, down in down from where I am at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. They were joined, and so our first year we had 36 kids and 2 teams.
Wow.
And then fast forward to this year, and we have 43 teams are approved in the state. And
43
last
teams
year,
across the state?
Across the state, yes.
Nice.
Yeah, from the Oregon border, Wairika is the furthest north, and there's a Christian high school in San Diego has been approved to have a team.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. I forget the name, but they're out in El Cajon. I can't remember. It'll come to me. So we used to have trap and marksmanship in high schools.
I did rifle shooting in high school.
Yeah, all the time. What happened?
We did it in a classroom.
And then they all kind of disappeared. What happened? Where did they all go, Anna?
Well, yeah, it was kind of where all lap fields went after, it was so popular in the 70s and 80s. And then I think environmental impacts started to close down fields. And so people quit shooting. And now there's a lot of areas that it's hard to find a trap field or a sporting clay field. I know in our local area, we have none. We have to do sporting clays. Our closest range is a half an hour, but the better ranges are over an hour away. So I think that has been a big reason that a lot of the shooting sports have disappeared in this state.
And what if someone were wondering, like, well, why is that a big deal? How would you describe what are kids missing out on if they don't have, a trap or marksmanship or this type of league to participate in?
Discipline is one of the biggest things that they get out of it. Discipline and responsibility. And then just like the league motto, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. But when they get together and they get to shoot as a team, when they start out as a team, but then as they grow, and if you guys have ever taught any shotgun sports, it's any sport, any shooting sports, it's an individual event. Even though you might be participating on a team, you're still putting up an individual score and you're learning individually. So It gives them a lot of information about themselves, teaches them responsibility, teaches firearm safety, which is ultimately the best thing for them. And it's going to produce a better citizen and somebody who supports our Second Amendment rights in the future.
That's very, very true. I don't know if you heard at the beginning of the show, I was saying my next gun. I gave up my shotgun to my nephew for the gun I used to use for sporting clays. And my next gun's going to be a double barrel side by side. I'm going like Jed Clampett style. So I don't know.
You could start doing the single action shooting society.
Yeah, right. That'd be awesome. So you've been so successful setting up these programs again, and thank you so much for doing all this hard work. But when you do approach a new school, what's the biggest myth or misconception that you have to overcome when you're talking to a school about implementing this kind of program?
There's so many people that fear firearms. And so trying to overcome that is the biggest step. And the kids can be excited. We go to FFA conventions and talk to the kids and they'll be excited. And then when they have to, it's a club at the high school level. And so they have to get it approved by the principal. And if they have a principal that's anti-firearms, they're never going to sign off on starting this club at the high school level. So that's the biggest issue. We have a team in San Jose, and there was a public school and a private school side by side. Husband and wife are going to be the coaches. And the private school went through all the steps to get approved and started their club. And the public school actually had their lawyer call me and talk to me and say, we will never have kids touch firearms in the school. So side by side, same town, just different belief systems. So that's the biggest obstacle that we see.
I would guess that there, obviously a lawyer, somebody, he's all about CYA, and it's just easier to say no than it is to say, hey, we'll try or whatever. But I would imagine that there are probably a lot of people that are not necessarily anti and aren't necessarily pro, but are just afraid of what criticism might come. and that they're more afraid.
That's true.
And I talked to one of the things we have to do culturally, as activists in California, is we have to make those folks, the folks that are kind of in the middle, they have to fear our complaining more than they fear the other side's complaining. And I think right now they solidly are far more fearful of the anti-gun folks criticizing and complaining than they are the pro-Second Amendment folks. Do you think that's accurate, or?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And I think a lot of people, matter of fact, the most recent principal that I spoke to, he had a personal fear of firearms. He had been a hunter and had seen some terrible things, and I couldn't blame him for having a distaste for firearms after the story he told me. But he was still realized that it was such a good opportunity for the students, and everyone gets to participate. There's no bench warmers, and he knew it would be a good opportunity for his kids. And so he was a bigger person and was stepping over his personal fears, but a lot of people can't do that. We do need to be a bigger voice.
If you've had some kind of horrible traumatic experience and there was a firearm involved, I think that it takes an extraordinary person to be able to put that aside. But if you are if you're in a position where you're a decision maker, whether you're a legislator and you've had a horrible traumatic experience that involved a firearm, or if you're a policymaker at a school or something like that, you got to be able to recognize that you have a personal bias and get out of the way, and say, hey, you know what, I can't be the one to make this decision because I have a horrible bias against firearms because of an experience I had, which sounds like what this guy did. So kudos to him. What an awesome job for him to recognize that, talk about it and then recognize it, and then set it aside and make sure that it moved forward without interruption or block from his personal bias. I think that's a great story.
I think it's a sign.
Yeah, that was one of the good stories, right? And then a lot of them, they let that personal bias judge what they can give to the students and just say no.
Yep, I think that speaks to that. If you look at people that let their bias influence their decisions, I think those are people that, for a large part, they haven't processed their trauma. They haven't, and if they kind of work through it, I think they become more open.
That's deep.
Right. Yeah. So California had this goofy law a couple of years ago. It was a law regarding
2571.
There you go. That's the advertising any kind of firearms function to youth, right? How did that affect your program?
Yeah. Our shut down. We're one of two, there's two major leagues in the state, and California Youth Shooting Sports Association is another one, and both leagues shut down for a while because everyone was fearful of that fine that you'd receive if you advertised. Coaches were liable to be fined. Anybody advertising, and the biggest part that came about is the poor juniors and seniors that were trying to go to college and set on colleges, and they were denied that because colleges would not approach California anymore. And they still are having issues. The law's not gone. Right. It's just in the courts. And so the kids that were denied, everything, their teams, access to the shooting sports, it was a bad thing. And when I called the governor's office because he signed it as an emergency executive order, and so it went into effect immediately, they had no idea that there were youth shooting teams in this state. So they did no research. It was just a gut reaction.
And I would imagine that even if they did, it was really by design. I don't think they're on the extreme end of the anti-gun side. And by the way, the extreme end of the anti-gun folks is pretty mainstream when it comes to anti-gun folks. They really kind of start right in the smack dab middle of extreme. But I would imagine that part of the deal was, I mean, they don't really see a scenario where any exposure to kids regarding firearms is a good thing. I mean, you would think that, hey,
That's true.
we're teaching them to be responsible and safe and educated on firearms. That is a good thing. That is something that, if they do run across firearms for any reasons, whether they decide to pursue the sport or not, any level of education where kids are better suited to deal with running into firearms is a good thing. So, keeping them from doing that doesn't make any sense at all.
That's correct. Yeah. And we are the safest sport, the shooting sports, because the first thing we teach is safety. And when these kids go into this sport, they have to have certifications. They can come in with a hunter safety card, or they, in our league, the California State High School Clay Target League, can take our safety certification. And 65% of the kids in the league actually do that, take that specific certification. So they come in with all the safety knowledge, and they're nationwide. Since 2008, we have 0 gun-related accidents in our league. And right now we have over 53,000 kids across the nation with 71 million targets thrown and 0 accidents.
Wow. Congratulations. I don't even think,
you can't say that about other sports.
You can't. So you can't say that about other sports, but it's pretty par for the course when it comes to shooting. If you're around shooting sports, it's enormously safe. That's what you find. If you go to a gun club, or you go to a gun range, or you go to a league, whether it's a pistol, rifle, or shotgun league of some kind, that's generally what you find. Is they're extremely safe. They're extremely accident free. It's very, very rare. I'm just thinking back. I used to do sporting clays once a month for years. I haven't been in a while, which is why I got to get my new shotgun.
Your side by side out.
I got to get my my train tracks. And
Good luck with that.
Yeah, but I can only remember a couple of incidences that happened, and they were all they weren't even gun related. They were like somebody they potentially had a heart attack. Had nothing to do with shooting. There's it's just very, very rare. We're extremely safe, and I think it's something to be proud of and something to brag about. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome, and it's a great opportunity for students to participate. Our league goes down to the 6th grade. We have 28% of our kids, 6th through 8th graders, and 72% are high school kids. They can letter in it. They can be in the yearbook. So it's a pretty neat opportunity for students to have a high school sport too. A lot of kids, their only sport. I think it's like over 60% of the kids that participate, it's the only sport that they do in high school.
That's fantastic. What's your favorite success story?
Say it again, I'm sorry.
What's your favorite success story? Do you have a particular student that had a particularly great story, or what's your favorite success story since you've been doing this?
I have one young lady who showed up to participate. She couldn't do it her freshman year in high school, so she came in because she was on a hunting trip, so she couldn't come when she needed to shoot, so she missed out on being part of the team. And she came in and she used a rifle, but she could not use a shotgun. She couldn't break any clays. So her first season, she probably broke 30 clays out of hundreds. And it was pretty disappointing for her, but she came back. She was determined. She was resilient. And she was the one that was affected and is my spokesperson when we go to the Capitol with the RPA about not being recruited by colleges, because she was in that AB 2571 as a junior and ready to go. And all she wanted to do was shooting sports. And she went from only breaking a few clays to being the top female shooter in the state for 2 out of 3 seasons.
Wow.
So pretty amazing young lady. And she's come back to help us coach, and she's gotten her cousins to shoot with us. And she continues to just become a legislative voice for young people. And she offsets what the legislators think a firearm owner is. And one of the gentlemen in the Capitol said that he thought it was all a bunch of old white guys. And so this cute little girl that comes in, petite little thing, and she's going, yeah, I'm the top shooter in the state. And so she has a really neat story to tell.
Oh, good for her. Congratulate her for us. That's what an awesome story. And a student can show up can they show up, but they have to have any experience? Do they even have to have a shotgun, or if they show up with a passion and an interest, they'll get taken care of, or how does that work?
Yep, they'll get taken care of. Our team, and most of the teams, they have team shotguns, which is a whole different ball game in the state of California.
Yeah.
And a lot of the teams provide ammunition through donations and grants, and clays. So they are partially subsidized on most of the teams. They do a lot of fundraising events, and yeah, any kid that wants to learn how to shoot can come out. We had a 10-year-old out the other day, and he was pretty small, but he has passion. So he's going to be on the junior team. And then we have another high school kid that's a junior in high school, never has shot before, and she's ready to try it. So yeah, any level. And then the ones that are probably the hardest to teach are the kids that are already out there shooting waterfowl and upland game, because they know everything about shotguns. So when you put them on a trap field or on a sporting clay range, they're not as good as they are in the field. So that's kind of fun to work with.
They already have different habits or whatever.
Right.
It's probably easier to start with a clean slate.
Yeah, and the girls listen better than the boys.
Yes, they do.
So oftentimes the boys are better shooters overall, but the girls are definitely closing in on them. And in this league, we recognize, just like the Olympics, there's girl awards and boy awards, so male and female awards. And then the top overall can be anybody.
That's awesome. How can people get involved? Do you have a call to action, or what would you like people what can people do now that they've heard this interview? Is there a way to support you, a website, or what's your call to action? We
need people that are affiliated with high schools, whether it's a teacher or a parent or kids, to get these teams started at high school level so more people can have an opportunity. I've had so many inquiries in the San Diego area to start teams, and people just need to talk to their principal and get that going. The way to get a hold of us is at caclaytarget.com. And you can see what California does and our numbers, and our spring season starts next month for registering. So there's plenty of time to get teams signed up. And the uniqueness about us is that we're school based. We're not just a youth team. You can go out to a range, shoot on a youth team, but we're high school based. We're high school club. And we also branch out at home schools and college as well. So that person that's passionate to get involved. So caclaytarget.com is the way to find out more information about starting a team in California.
Perfect. Anna Canon, by the way, perfect name for what you do.
Thanks.
Love it. Anna Canon, appreciate everything you've done. Appreciate the interview. Awesome job. And please send my best to everybody that you work with from Gun Owners Radio. And thank you. Thank you so much. What an interesting interview that was. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care, Anna. All right.
You too.
There you go. That was interesting. So it's caclaytarget.com. Check them out. Right? Did I get that right? I hope so.
I believe so.
Okay. So get that right. And if you know anybody, especially anywhere in California, if you know somebody who's affiliated with a school and they want to start a league, let's get them rolling. So awesome. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm Michael from Gun Owners Radio. If you liked what you saw, please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and make a comment. Help us out. Go to gunownersradio.com. Thanks for watching.